talked about these endurance feats becoming like art for you, and that your canvas is the endurance sport. I want to talk about, like, so when I think about artistic expression, it's an active process for me where I feel, Stephen King said it best when he said, when you're really in a flow state, you feel like you're channeling, like something's just happening through you.
Yeah.
So that is a fun wave for me to ride as a writer. Yeah. And that's where you're sort of going, you're really experiencing something, and it's fascinating to me, the characters that pop into my head or the things that they say, because you know it's some part of you. Which really gets interesting. So what is that sort of running dialogue that you're having when you're out there that's led you to say that this is like an artistic expression?
For me, I have to go back a little bit in my life. I was a great athlete throughout my life. I was a collegiate swimmer and raced triathlon professionally, as you mentioned, and these other world records. And through that, I kind of, in the sort of the world, the way people identified me, the way I identified myself was, I'm an elite athlete. I'm a professional athlete. That's what I am. And I think of art, at least in my younger age, I don't now, but if thinking of art as like being able to draw well or be able to compose music, both things I'm terrible at, to be perfectly honest. And so I was like, oh, I'm not an artist, I'm an athlete. And then a couple years ago, actually, when I was at Burning Man, it was the first time really where, with all of the sort of art that goes on there, that's collaborative, that you can touch, that involves all the senses, the huge installations and everything, and the whole kind of environment in itself as this sort of collaborative art piece, I was like, oh, Art isn't the way I frame the word in my mind. Creativity is a whole other thing. And actually what I'm doing through my projects is, my canvas just happens to be endurance sports. That's my craft. That's what I've beat on for years and years and years. But what I'm actually trying to do in the world is tell stories, show my story and showcase it in a way that isn't about people watching the athlete in the arena compete some world record, but more so, how can we create stories that have this ripple effect of positivity and impact throughout the world? So started a nonprofit that was focused on inspiring kids to get outside and move their bodies, live active, healthy lives through our sort of storytelling and creative mediums. You mentioned Snapchatting from the Summit of Everest, really sharing these stories in a way, not that someone who can be like, dude, Colin, you're a badass, that's awesome. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, like that's, semi-interesting. What's interesting to me is when someone's like, holy shit, I've been talking about starting that business for the last 10 years, but like, you actually went out there and did the thing. Thank you for doing that, because I'm actually now starting that business. Or the way my wife and I have kind of really built and co-created this together, a huge part of this story. We'll talk more about her for sure. But, when someone says like, hey, because of what you guys have demonstrated, I'm leaning into my relationship in a way that I never have before. Or, I am gonna, dance or create or whatever that is in their own life. And so for me, I started to think of myself less as an athlete and more as an artist. And really, these was just my creative platform for doing that, to hopefully have my creative expression into the world. And I think for you is what you're doing here with Impact Theory, the storytelling. I know a little bit of your story, but your dreams and aspirations around movie studios and things like that, which is incredible, is just the same idea, right? It's like the power of storytelling, the power to move people through action. And so that's how I've sort of reframed in my mind of thinking of this as the sort of art expressions, and me being out there walking across Antarctica or wherever I happen to do next with my body is just my expression of that in the world.